The Washington Wizards, the Charlotte Hornets, the Toronto Raptors, and the Philadelphia 76ers. What do all four of those teams have in common? All four of those teams have been terrible this season, ranking 15th, 14th, 13th, and 12th in the Eastern Conference respectively. But one of those teams is not like the others. The Philadelphia 76ers entered this season with championship expectations, having the third highest odds to win following the Paul George trade. And not only have they fallen short of expectations, this will go down as one of the most disastrous, most confusing, and most pathetic seasons in NBA history. And things only seem to be getting worse, because aside from a win against the Warriors on the back of Quentin Grimes scoring 44 points, the 76ers have now lost 13 of their last 15 games. They have a bottom 3 defense, a bottom 5 offense, and a bottom 2 net rating in that period of time. And it's one thing to lose games, but they've had some embarrassing losses. I mean, 32 points to the Chicago Bulls, not just any Chicago Bulls team, this Chicago Bulls team, starting Josh Giddey, Kevin Huerter, Lonzo Ball, Matas Buzelis, and Zach Collins. A team with 2 guys on max contracts who were looked at as all NBA level players before the season should never lose by 32 points to a starting lineup like that. And if 76ers fans weren't already fed up of this team, and in particular their summer signing Paul George, this is what he said following that loss to the Bulls.
I know my goal when I first signed with Philadelphia was to bring a championship to these amazing fans here. I still remain positive about that. With that being said, though, I want to let the Podcast P family know that after today's episode with Dwight, I plan to take a break from the pod just to focus on getting my body right, give ourselves a chance to be in contentions to compete for a championship.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to hear about championship aspirations when you have won 2 of your last 15 games, when you are getting blown out by the Josh Giddey, Kevin Huerter-led Bulls. I respect the sentiment of giving up on Podcast P whilst you put up Mohawkless numbers on a max contract, but just like everything about this Sixers team, Paul George found a way to make it the most infuriating and comical way to address the situation. And at this point, this is what the 76ers are. They are a joke, because how has it reached this point? How is it possible a team who was expected to compete with Boston would be competing with Brooklyn and Chicago for the finals play-in spot and losing that competition? Because let me make it clear, they were expected to compete for a championship.
But if he can stay healthy with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey, this is the biggest threat to knock Boston off that throne in the Eastern Conference.
And I'm sure if anyone does have an excuse for the 76ers, the first excuse, and really the only excuse, would be the injuries to Joel Embiid. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you Joel Embiid has been healthy at all this season, but he has played 20 games. He has still averaged 24 and 8 in those games, yet with all 3 of Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey on the floor together, they've had a negative net rating. And it really doesn't matter which combination you look at, whether it's Embiid and Maxey, Embiid and PG, or PG and Maxey, every single lineup we've seen from the Sixers this year has been flat out bad. And yes, Embiid hasn't been healthy, but you have 2 guys who were supposed to be all-star, even all NBA level players alongside him. The idea of signing Paul George was alongside Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid, you would at all times have 2 all-star, all NBA level players. And the crazy part is, the 76ers have actually made some really good moves around the edges this year. Gershon Yabusele has been one of the best signings in the league, a physical presence on defense and on the glass, a capable playmaker, and I can't claim to have watched all of the 76ers games this year. Obviously, I would not subject myself to that, but whenever I watch him play, he seems to hit every single 3-point shot ever. Kelly Oubre has been fine, Quentin Grimes has been a revelation, having more 30-point games since being traded to Philly than Paul George has had all year. And just to top things off, the 76ers couldn't have done better in the draft, with Justin Edwards giving you incredible production as an undrafted rookie, Adam Boner showing the occasional glimpse, and then Jared McCain. Jared, how I miss watching him play. And I'm sure every single Sixers fan feels 10 times more strongly about McCain than I do, which is hard, but I'm not in a toxic relationship like Sixers fans are. And I will talk more about Jared McCain a little bit later. But we need to get back to talking negatively about this team because it's what they deserve. And obviously, it's hard not to look squarely at Paul George to take the majority of the blame in this situation. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I can't fathom what is happening with Paul George. I know there are some people that are claiming this was obvious, and don't get me wrong, I thought it was a big risk to pay a 34-year-old with his injury history $200 million. But I thought it was a risk because he might not play. I didn't think the Sixers would actually be worse when he was on the court, because nothing pointed towards him reaching this level of mediocrity. I mean, since turning 30 years old, PG averaged 23.5 points, 6 rebounds, and just under 5 assists per game on 46% from the field and nearly 40% from 3. He wasn't the defender that his reputation suggested, but he was one of the best wings in the league. And let's not forget last year, where he was an all-star. He played 74 games, averaging nearly 23 points a game, shooting 41% from 3, and still being a top 20 to 25 player in the league. How was he now dropped to a level that is on par with the guy they got rid of to accommodate him? Tobias Harris. In fact, Tobias Harris has been better than Paul George, and I've seen Sixers fans have the audacity to still call out Tobias Harris, to still use his name as a scapegoat after he has left their team and helped transform a losing team into one of the hottest and best stories in the NBA. Was Tobias Harris overpaid? Absolutely. Do the 76ers advance to an Eastern Conference Finals if Joel Embiid doesn't drop absolute stinkers in the series against Boston and Atlanta? Absolutely. There's a collective blame, and there are plenty of players to blame, including Tobias Harris, but not exclusively Tobias Harris. Sixers fans, it's time to let go and realize there are many more problems around this franchise than just Tobias Harris. Now, the only reason I'd be excited about this team entering next year is because of Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain. Do I think Joel Embiid is washed? No, but I would not have high expectations entering next year, and I would definitely not have high expectations about Paul George. The only two guys on this team that you can guarantee will bring energy, will bring joy, and also some production to this team are McCain and Maxey. And it is genuinely sad that we were robbed of a very, very good and fun rookie season that McCain was having, but I think we saw enough to believe this is a guy who belongs in the league. Not only is he an elite shooter, which we saw in college, but his lower body strength, his ability to relocate after giving the ball up, the ability to make floaters or turnaround jumpers. He could be a future star, and he is the only reason I have any form of optimism about the future of this team. But in saying that, what's the direction of this team when the two guys who look worthwhile building around are 24 years old and 21 years old? To go a step further, if they were to re-sign Quentin Grimes, he's only 24. Justin Edwards has looked really good as a 21-year-old, and hopefully for Philadelphia's sake, they can keep their protected first-round pick if they continue to suck and add another young player to the mix. And then with the potential assets of Paul George and Joel Embiid, who are clearly not at peak value right now, but would also bring back some kind of return, it's a hard pill to swallow, but I see more promise in this team if they were to rebuild than whatever the hell they could hope for with a 35-year-old Paul George entering next season and a Joel Embiid who we can only assume will not be healthy for the entirety of it. I don't know what's going to happen to the Philadelphia 76ers. They suck. Jared McCain and Tyrese Maxey are cool and fun, and that's about all I have to say. Anyways, if you made it all the way to the end of the video and want to see more content like this, consider subscribing, dropping a like in the video would be cool. Most importantly, have a great day.